get a little bit of noise from you, Kadunja. Mute your microphone for a second. Please. All right. So we're going to start with place names. I don't think Tom Thornton will be here. He said he didn't think he'd make it. They had a really packed schedule for him, and it was just sort of a possibility that he might show up here. So let's start with some place names. First of all, everybody close all your notes. It's for fun. And let's just see how many we can just name. I know you guys just looked up 20, diagrammed them completely. How many place names can we just, let's just send it around the room and see how many of you know. Could be anywhere. But they have to be Tlingit. The Yucatan Peninsula is not Aak'wtaatseen. It's unacceptable. But other things will be accepted. Who wants to go first?
They should. Ţ
Chicken heating. ʼéidáx.
Aak'wtaatseen ḴaalԽáawu. Shakoish. Kadunja. Tlingit. What? What's just sitting? Gook. Asana.
ʼéidáx.
Okay.
What on? Yakuta. ʼéidáx.
Ḵaalḵáawu.
Narasha.
Aak'wtaatseen Ḵaalಖಾಾವು. Shakoish. Kadunja.
ʼéidáx.
Tlingit. ʼáalláxtlen.
Tlingit. Can I just say Āk'wtaatseen?
Which one of them knows?
Dark. Shop.
ʼéidáx Āak'wtaatseen. Āak'wtaatseen. Shakoish. Kadunja.
ʼéidáx.
Tlākān. Skudats. Ēidáx.
Is it Huna?
Huna.
Duck Daisy.
Ďaltaká.
On.
Bamboo. Daisy.
وتتلقى شاكويش
Duck face seat.
كتنجا
ʻéidáx.
هوجي أي
Highway. Yauchi. Shoe. Up. Whoops.
Zantik Ahin.
Okay.
Segugu Shah.
Sick.
Shakawush. Shakuish.
ʻéidáx.
Kadanja.
ʻéidáx.
Okay. What's Kitchen Onion? Kitchen Onion. Gonna cheese. Placenames are so fun. They're so fascinating. I was really excited when these projects were. When I was sort of getting active into the language and tribal leadership, the maps were being distributed. So I got to see sort of the tail end of the project. But it's just amazing to me. I remember I went to a language class in Sitka and I just sat in on it. And they had probably 6 or 7 fluent speakers there, and they said, we're just going to start in the most northern part of Aak'wtaatseen, go all the way, and they started naming like every point, river, and they weren't, none of them were even from Aak'wtaatseen. It was just amazing to me how much knowledge was there. And some of Thornton's other work was estimating that every person could remember about 5,000 names of places. So it'd be interesting to sort of get that inventory up there. And then when you just got to think about it, what kinds of places pop in your mind? For me, there's a lot of places back home. I'm sure everybody has sort of similar areas, some sort of group in an area, and you just want to know what those places are. Some of them are kind of ʻéidáx. I didn't name that one. I forget that. So some of them are pretty fun. Some of them are just really interesting. Like I think it's the place where a halibut fisher's wife melted.
So you wrote down.
So let's just take a look at the ones you guys wrote down. 20, and you sort of identified these directional. Was it 10? Did I say 10 or did I say 20? You guys can get the rest to me. Give me your list by Saturday. Let's just go through some of them now, and then I'll get feedback on your sentences next week. But the focus is really on these directional and relational terms. So again, we have, when we're talking about directional relational terms, and what we're trying to do is just sort of build our general vocabulary of how Tlingit works. Nouns, modifying nouns, not very many ways to do that, so we can get a handle on that. We can always learn new nouns. We can just keep doing, and we should be doing. What's this called? What's that called? Then we get into directional and relational terms. And then there's basically how things relate to the speaker, how things relate to a group, and how things relate to different things, one to another. So we talked about sort of three main components when we get to the directional relational stuff. We have independent basis, and what are those? Can somebody describe what that means? ʼéidáx. Independent base. Oh, an independent base. We're talking about these directional relational terms. Yes, and we categorize them into three main types. We're not talking about what they do, like senses of space and stuff. There's really sort of three categories. One is relation to the speaker. Two is two things relative to each other. And three is everything relative to a fixed position, which is where the ocean meets the shore. When we get into the actual types of words and terms, so like we've been talking about nouns and adjectives, we have three different types. Relational bases, or sometimes, or independent bases. Relational bases, which are sometimes referred to as relational nouns, and suffixes. So what is an independent base? You know that?
A relational word that can stand by itself.
Yeah, it's a relational word that can stand by itself. Doesn't need anything else to tie to. Can we think of any examples?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tiny.
Okay.
Talk.
Hmm?
Talk.
Dock or dock.
Talk. Naki.
Naki,
Iki.
ich
Iki.
the key, the ye,
Yun.
yun. No. Niche is a quarter. It's a noun. The key. Can we say that? So a lot of these have to do with these fixed positions because we know where they go. There are some that are sort of up above, down below, but this all has to do with being in a fixed position. Most of them sort of have their birthplace where the ocean is the shore. So what about relational bases? What are those?
It can show ownership.
Yeah, so they have to belong to something. They show some relationship to the noun or the word that precedes it. So what are some examples of relational bases? No, so is kind of a place, and then is the suffix. Yik, yeah, so like a yik. Nach. Da. So the way you remember is can it also take, so it needs to belong to something, but it can also take a suffix. So if it couldn't take a suffix, then it wouldn't work. Da. Ka. Tai.
Tuna.
Yeah, tu.
Shayi. Shayi.
Shayi.
Yeah.
Okay.
K. I think K is just sort of generally upward. So I don't think it needs to belong to anything.
Yin.
Hmm?
Yin.
Yin?
Yin. Yin.
Oh, yeah, that's generally downward. I think K and Yin, Kin and Yin, K and Yi are independent.
What about yes?
Yes. Yes. That's a relational base. Although it cannot take a
Play.
it cannot take a suffix.
Play.
Okay. Like
To play.
at the time of it's a particle. What about suffixes? Yeah. Dach.
No.
Nach. Day. What's that? Woo. Woo. Who.
What? Among?
Oh, who. So that one is a who is a relational base. CH. Yep. Ergative marker. So yeah, and then sani, yeah. So combination. Okay. So we sort of just learn how to spot these things to be at somewhere. So if I have t, or or w, what are the differences between those four? So I'll attach them to k, and I'll say nadauk, nadauk cut, nadauk kach, nadauk kach, and nadauk kaw.
It's more like arriving at, right?
Yeah, so the cut is like it has arrived there, so it gives some sort of an indication. Perhaps it's been moving, or it could be it's used for when something is touching something else as well.
Is that like repeatedly
Yeah.
arrives or it's
So-
been there a while?
Could be it repeatedly comes there, or it moves around at that place. Kasayegi gucha. Just moves around. That leaves two more.
It's a sense of being there.
Being there, so kind of more like residing or being there at some length of time, perhaps being somewhat at rest there. And then or would.
Over there.
It's used in that, like way do and not do. How does it function differently than that? So the means just sort of generically located there. And it's usually used when there's no verb. Gusuwika, nesuhu, she's at home. Right, but it's not, there's no, usually there's no verb. Gusu, yadu, wedu, tuwu, kawu. So it just means to just be there. And it's usually it's a much it's in pretty short sort of sentences. And then it gets a little awkward to use it with verbs. Gusu yani good. It doesn't work. Okay. Oh, we got keep my eye out for answers. ʼéidáx would be it's just where is it? It's on the table. And ʼéidáx would be it is positioned on the table. Would probably indicate that it could perhaps move on its own, but it's using a verb, and the main difference between using a verb and not using a verb is we would have to conjugate it, right? And so we would say ʼéidáx as opposed to ʼéidáx. Okay. Let's go just sort of one at a time. Tell me one of your place names, what kind of directional, relational terms there are. Ideally, you should be able to say whether it's an independent base, relational base, or a suffix. Let's go first. Who? What's that mean? Tlingit. You probably know. So
Porcupine.
nope.
ʼáak'wtaatseen
Ḵaalḵáawu yisakuge. Porcupine tail. There is no directional relational term. What?
It's not relational. Like a short
Is it DI? No, it means it's tail. That's how you spell tail.
I thought there was something going on with that tail.
Oh, like torrent? Yeah, it would be ḵaalḳáawu.
Oh, so you have to add another day.
Yeah, I have to have the de on it. Because it's not, it's just how you say tail. Okay. Shakui, you got a place name for us that has some sort of relational term in it?
ʻáik'wtaatseen Ḵaalḵáawu.
What's
Cedar?
Hmm?
Yik, like cedar.
ʻáik'wtaatseen. Huh?
Ḵaalxáawu. And the relational term?
Yik. Yik, like inside.
And it's inside a container that opens to the above. Yike, finish chish. Kadanja, wa'at. You eat poaha.
ʼéidáx.
So yeganaka?
ʼéidáx.
Ḳaalḳáawu.
I'll put it in the text.
Okay. It's chish. Ḳaalḳáawu. Ḳaalḳáawu.
So da,
Yes, da.
around, kind of in the vicinity of.
Right. Is that the island around?
Yeah, that's what it's given. Around the navel island.
Yeah. Island around the belly button. Nice. There's chish.
Inland.
Yeah, Dak.
Inland River.
Dak. Okay.
Kutnuwushatu.
Anybody know what the directional is or relation to? To, yeah. To is actually one as well, because it could be something.
Point.
So inside the point or inside the nose, the nostril up. Okay.
Anach ya andaganye. Anach ya andaganye.
And where's the directional relational term?
Nach
What kind is it?
suffix.
Okay. Anybody know what that means?
The place. Enough.
Place, place for a ya under guns.
Place for the sunshine.
Yes, place for
Through
the
that
sunshine.
place? Is it through that place? It's not.
Yeah, the place where the sun shines through.
This is where the sun rays hit first
Huh.
for the Douglasville Harbor.
Okay. What's the relational term? What's me? What kind is it?
Not independent basis.
Yeah. it's Illumination game works.
Ye kinde ʼéidáx. Kinde.
How many of them are in it? All right, how about this? What do they mean?
Kinde is like upward.
Mm-hmm. So what are the two pieces of it?
Kinde.
Yep.
Is that like up to?
Well, so yeah, so
Towards
kin
up.
is an independent base. We always know it's up. And then day is the suffix. You go kin day and yin day.
Actually. Coming.
Did you read that from yesterday's? Did you spell it with a high tone?
Should be.
No, the F.
F.
What's the relational term?
Should be.
What kind is it?
Relational noun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relational base, relational noun. Okay.
Base.
Anybody know what that means? It's F. You see, Kuke? It's F.
Rock.
Mud.
Yeah, it's like a silt or
Oh, I couldn't really.
Something up with a alluvial
Clay.
fan, probably.
Huh?
Something related to an alluvial fan.
Yeah, exactly. Alluvial silt or clay. Shuyi. That's the way they kakhinach shuyi.
At the end of.
Yeah, I think it's below the end of, sort of a combination. It's right down from. Okay. Okay. Where's the relational term? What kind is it? Okay. That's tzich. So a lot of times it happens in place names, especially when things start getting long. It sort of follows the rule of compound nouns, where long vowels will tend to get short, except at the end. It's not always that way, but it happens quite a bit. Tzig would become tzik, tziknach.
So wouldn't translate.
No, that would be sik, siknach,
Oh,
tziknach.
Yeah, yeah.
YA, upper.
YA. Yeah? Where's that place at?
Upper Taku River.
Oh, okay.
I like this name, and it's the name for a battery point, which you can go past on a ferry
Mhm.
as you get into it. So that's ʼéidáx, yeah. Place where the dog cries.
Oh,
I'm not sure. Is there?
yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of, well, we dealt with that a little bit, but not a whole lot. Yes, ʼé is clay. Good. So, yeah is a high-toned word, comes at the end of a verb. And so if you just said the verb and yeah, and a lot of times the verb ends up getting this relational suffix, much like we'd see with when we want to tie two phrases together and make combined phrases. So like the cotton-wooded place. And it means the place where that verb occurs. If it comes, so you've got ʼéidáx, so the place where the dog cries. But if you said ʼéidáx, the way that dog cried. So if it has ade and then ye, bookmarking the verb, and usually you're going to get this relational suffix in there. You would have the way that something verb. And then if you get kech, ade, cake, then you there's no way the dog can cry. So that yeah is really powerful. It does some things. It means the place or the way that a verb occurs. It's not really one of those relational directions. It's a post verb that alters the verbs in the way they work. But you'll see them in a lot of place names, because it'd be the place where this verb happened, the place where Raven did this, the place where this occurred, the place that is cotton-wooded.
Talk.
And where's the
Talk. So beside. So it's beside the island.
and what kind is it?
Relational.
Relational base?
Yeah.
Let's do one more round. And we'll move on. So,
ʼéidáx.
one more time.
ʼéidáx.
And your directional or relational terms? Well, k is actually, it's like the little code, like the little link.
Oh, so the U is part of that.
Yeah, so what we find when we get into these both plural and diminutive suffixes, sometimes they'll reveal a rounded end that has fallen off. So that's why Aak'wtaatseen becomes Aak'wtaatseen with a U. And then if there's some sort of relationship, it'll become Aak'wtaatseen. Or if it's possessive, it becomes Aak'wtaatseen. Another one that does this, you could say Ka for a person. Ka do Ḳáaḳáawu, his or her men, right? So there's a rounded end that gets revealed when the suffix gets put on. You just got to keep an eye out for it. It's pretty rare, but there's a few of them that happen. And directional terms, are you okay? And say it one more time. That's something the south, something.
So, yeah. I pulled my names
Say it one more time.
ʼéidáx.
Oh.
Just could Shintuk,
Oh, okay.
eastern side. Western side.
Sounds like the south something's.
Right next to it, I mean, right below it is ʼéidáx.
The north. Yeah, so when you have Nunde and you're gonna have Nunde and Ikde, that means there's two things that are usually gonna have the same name. Like you might say Āak'wtaatseen, Tlingit, South Island and North Island. That means there's two islands that have really similar qualities, and then one's north and one's south. That's how those usually happen. Aak'wtaatseen Ḵaalḵáawu. What's the relational term? Aak'wtaatseen Ḵaalḵáawu. What's that mean? Among. And what's Aak'wtaatseen?
It's little lakes.
Little lakes. Among the little lakes. When you're driving north of Skagway, it's that place right on top, right past the border.
What happened to the
Aak'wtaatseen Ḵaalḵáawu. There's a rounded end there, and it's after a pinch consonant, so it's probably too much to convert it to a vowel. Because you can say Aak'wtaatseen Ḵaalḵáawu, but that's actually more work. The peg vowel pops up just to make less work. There are certain cases where it Shakuish.
Shawnachini.
Okay. Directional term?
Nach. True.
Yeah. And what kind is it?
The suffix.
Okay. Kadunja.
What kasate?
Tuyelaka.
What kasate?
Wekasate.
What kasate?
What's the directional or relational term?
I'm 100% sure, but I think ka is in there. But I'm not sure what that stuff does. So what is like the noun of string? Ka is on, and ka is raw. But I don't know what the sa is.
Huh. What kasate? I don't know. I have to look at that one. What kasate? Huh. Yeah, I'll look at it. Could be. I'm not gonna guess.
It's translated as stream with rock at the mouth.
Right. Huh. Interesting. Okay, I'll think about that. I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I can think of anything. Okay. Cheesh.
Aak is behind, and it's backside of Shutak Kingdom.
So behind Chilku. Was it Shkud? Talk?
Is that at the end of the lake where the sun is on?
Is that on the lake? Is that the backside of the lake? Is that in Lutar?
It's located in Shutak, but it's the lake, backside of the lake.
Oh, okay.
That's what it shows in the map.
Interesting. Okay.
There's like, maybe there's something.
What kind of term is it?
Independent.
It's a relational base, because it has to be behind something. So that's how these ones work. Like if it's behind it or around it or under it, or if it shows some relationship to another object, it'll always be relational.
Chichnach.
Which one?
Nach.
Okay.
Suffix.
Through the cheech.
It says porpoise along harbor.
Huh.
Whoosh de Ḳáaḥtláaꞌatyē. Whoosh de Ḳáaḥtláaꞌatyē. De. Is that a suffix?
Mhm.
Word.
To the place we talk together.
It said place where the open sides face each other.
Mm. Nice.
It's relational.
Yep. Take could also be te or eight.
Us, between, is that relational?
Yes. From the trees. It's also a clan name. Clarence Jackson's name.
Down, up, on, up. And maybe it's the village beside the drum, behind the drum. Maybe. Beside.
It could be. It depends. Up. And I think. What's the one behind?
Off.
Yeah.
And it's relational based.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That last one, is that what they would call great
Which one?
us?
I don't know.
It's between the forests.
Because I don't know. Graveyards are a new thing. I'll have to ask what we call it.
Out in Gold Belt, there's graves out there. It's like right there between the beach and the forest stars.
Huh. I know there's one in Atwood. They call it the place for those who went ahead of us. Hashuka is the thing. So, but graveyards are such a new thing. It's a post-contact thing. I'll have to ask what people call it. Should I have heard it?
Us,
Ah, yeah, it's probably a name should duck the weed again.
Cake of one heart,
Oh, okay,
among the trees.
yeah, between them.
Uh-huh.
You get theme music for your address.
My voice is just that beautiful.
Can you sing it for us?
I just cut them
Aak'wtaatseen to dock in day towards so I guess dock would be and then day would be suffix.
Because those ones, day, nach, duck, they can never appear on their own. Okay.
Ashuri,
And what's the relation to?
shook, and
Shuk is the end. Shuyi means to be just below the end, or down from the end of it.
okay. So the head of the Llewellyn Inlet
Mhm.
for the glacier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it means it's sort of like just beneath it, just down.
On, yeah, Ade, King. Ade,
What is
Ade,
Ade? So,
relational.
what would be the day would be the suffix. And then the is just sort of it just means the place. It's a noun. And it usually pops up when you need to use day or yach. And you need to use a suffix, then pops up to just grab it, because you can't say it on its own. That's why a lot of place names and other terms, they'll say ʼéidáx, ʼéidáx, and things like that.
Tushaki. That's, oh, you did tuch,
Yeah,
yeah. Shaki.
Yeah.
It's the top of the Shaki relational base, so it's on top of, I think it's a charcoal mountain.
Nice. My favorites is which becomes too shy. Like okay, let me make a note real quick. So I don't lose this.
What about this one? I don't know what the relational is, but
murky water, right?
Okay.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
So the is just it's derived from the verb, just to be murky, mixed with silt, especially.
Yeah, very much so, especially this river, local river.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay, so I'll give you guys a handout. Even though I gave you Ţáŋkáw, I thought we'd do something different. We'll listen to it and watch it first, then we'll go through it line by line. Okay, so I sent the handout to you guys online. You should be able to hear this. Grab the remote just in case. Volume check at the beginning. I might back it up. Qanach ʼéidáx ʼḤáathli Ḳaalḳáawu ʼéidáx Qwall Tlingit Linguistics Āak'wtaatseen Ḵaalಖáawu Aak'wtaatseen Ḵaalಖáawu Ajayach Tosakud Āak'wtaatseen Aya Wutuwa'ach Yaghana Ḳaalḳáawu Ya Aak'wtaatseen Ḵaalಖáawu Kathy ready. Qanach away Tutla'an Ḳaalḳáawu Utsu Ďaqalqawu away. Āak'wtaatseen Ḥaalఖáawu. Gwallain kananik tlingit 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 shkalni. Āak'wtaatseen Ḵaalఖáawu hid. Qanaxawi hatwas. Āak'wtaatseen shuqa'aya Āak'wtaatseen Tlingit Tlingit shkalni. Tlakutsi ataya. Wal kajindihinaya. Kautushihit Tlingit. Hayata Āak'wtaatsaya Kedinaya Awa'ach Āak'wtaatsaya Kaushihit Tlingit. Etriach wasukuyata. Āak'wtaatseen Tlingit Tlingit.
Tlingit satire ate historia uçağıdanne uçiskan تستكدت يقعيك قدسك يراها يتسكو هنتانخ خات تختو آتيا خوز هست يقعيك قدسك شحايخ تسقاقا يساقا أشتياء يكاينين أخو آئي خاقيدي Aşkasni kütüketi varsa istiyinir çuvaneye Dede kaçkı aya Aak'wtaatseen Askan ane Askaya haşarkan tıksa iş Khatinen akkata aşkışyat Aak'wtaatseen sitene khadat satan ya nasluan Madutçıkı iyi kavuşlitsa Akhanastik kedu atakho Akin khadatliyak Aga hain Ayakı khukut khun يودوخا دوخي كتها يخلين قدوا إسوس كواسيات نانين كوسد كلا كوسد إيش خنختي اشتكاتيان أقل يا نسخواتن خو أجدك استجيدات شتخان سايق خنخ شتكيش نسنيكو تيش تاقي تدي أخبقها يا استشادي هن يخيا السيخ يقتلين قختتان أقتاتسين خاطر قختك هين دام تاقي تيايا سكت أجدو أكون كدين عندي خقني أقتاتسين خندو وقت شادي هن نشكي قختو خان أتيتو خينا يهين يكتسكين إصلاح خاطر إيجنا تتين يكتينوك كالتشاتين يا كوي إكوخساتين كيكوائيك إطلاع إخاهات كايتان إخاهات داخل يشاتين إتوك إخنا إكتو دي داكت إستاشتو خين إخاهات إخاهات تتوش الدينا عطتلا كيواي إخاها كيشد إخاها تشاكين تشتكو دوجه خدك إيغا دكتو داوديك تخلق سيدة دواخد جخان كاغسك خكاشيت تطلع جخان كيواي أخيك السيدة سيدك تاكين يا خان استشتشي كوتي كان هدي تكت أخي خد كتين تكرت تكتيكا قد أخذت في خواشك هيدا وأويتان أخذت استان خان تكتيكا خيدا وأد واسعدك قني تاتشتكو سانة دياقك هاودو وأخا يسكساني آكشو Aak'wtaatseen Ḳaalḵáawu Tlingit Aak'wtaatseen Ḳaalḵáawu Tlingit Cake the Ḳáaḳáatiin Sheriff Jackson the son and Peter Jack the Aak'wtaatseen Ḵaalḵáawu Aak'wtaatseen family is ʼéidáx Aak'wtaatseen Gunda Khasati Haya Khwayiskina Khatakasta Kahinin Yijuda Haya Hiji Khawda
Jewish faith.
the way we use some of these stories.
Okay, so going through this story line by line, that's what I like to do. And it's a draft. Sometimes we work on drafts in here. So just understand there might be a couple of things that we need to adjust. But Tom Thornton was talking about Aak'wtaatseen, and just got me thinking about this version and the work that Ishmael has done with this story so far, and I thought we'd use this one. And we could look at Ṭāngkhā as well. But what I'd like to do is for you guys to read a sentence, and then after you've read the sentence, tell me what kinds of things you see. I'm specifically interested in any of these directional relational terms, any verbs that you see, and if you could tell me where the verb root is, and if you could tell me sort of how to translate that verb maybe, or what mode it might be in even. But whatever you can do will be good. And you get the translation there to help. Let's go first.
Tlingit Sati.
I'll go all the way to the period.
Tlingit Sati. Ate. Aiat Dushtu. Ye. Wuj ya awudane. Wuj es khan.
Kuhida tinechati. Yeah, I just need one. Then it has an extra one. Don't everybody come at once. Hailed. All right. What all do we have? Let's start with directional and relational terms. Kind of our focus. Yeah. What's that? Well, so you have a locative for the verb. It's kind of a different thing. These things that are really specifically talking about direction and relations. The locative is kind of close, but it's more specific to this verb thing, and it's specifying what the group is. Yeah, day. So what's day?
It's a relational.
So day would literally mean, how would we translate that?
Away to it.
Just towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of these post-verb things that's talking about when you've got the day and the ye on either side of the verb, that's saying the way that verb works. So these things are interesting because when they start combining, they start changing how they function, right? And so he's sort of setting up this story. There's another one right in here, in between day and ye. A'k'wtaatseen which means, and it's a really interesting the way that this first sentence gets set up. It's really just classic Tlingit oratory. Ta'i is to us. It's sort of getting in the directional, relational sort of realm. It's the empty base though. A'k'wtaatseen. So at is something, du is someone. So the way someone teaches us something. But the way to translate that is the way that we are taught. And so it's really interesting the way Tlingit will put things together like this. And then Tlingit Sati. What's different about, what's the difference between Tlingit Sati and Tlingit Sati? Tlingit Sati. Tlingit Sati.
Is our, isn't it?
Yeah, so if the first one I would write L-I-N-G, high-toned I, T-X underline, H-A-A for a new word, and then the next word S-I-T-E. So what are some differences between that and the one that he says?
We are Tlingit.
Tlingit Sati. We are Tlingit, right? Tlingit Sati. Our being Tlingit, right? So it's transforming it into a noun is what's happening, which is why the classifier switches, and which is why it gets. Right now, it's getting this sort of relational possessive suffix at the end. Okay. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 verbs. Stop. One's been changed to it now. Āk'wtaatseen.
Yes.
Eskhan. Well, Āk'wtaatseen is actually Diftu and Satig. So what are our 4 verb roots?
T.
T. Tu. Khan. Ne. So just seeing how these things get put together, we got wuchia, wudene, respecting each other, wuchis khan, loving each other. You'll notice that that one goes plus D. And the other one is just naturally plus D. And then the other one is also naturally. Okay. Sheesh. Shakuish, you want to read the next one? You have this? And then the next, read to the period.
You ʼéidáx.
Okay, anything, tell me everything you recognize.
Just to cut that is everything. ʼéidáx is another like a state of being.
Okay.
Kind of a, I don't know how to explain that first. There's 2 is like to be taught.
Yep.
ʼéidáx, there's 2. ʼéidáx, there's 2 is we are taught.
Yep. So there's 2 slight changes. When Aak'wtaatseen, I would make its own word. Aak'wtaatseen. Have you heard that one?
I've heard it. I know it has to do with the spirit, but I'm not sure.
Yes, it's exactly. It's just a spirit. When we're talking Tlingit, there's 2 wu, like the sort of inner spirit or feelings of a living specific person. There's yek, which is the spirit of something that usually comes back to help people, especially in ʼéidáx. And then there's Aak'wtaatseen, which means there is a spirit, like some sort of spirit. And this is usually used in this specific context to talk about the spirit that exists in, and then he's going to go through and talk about some stuff. What's the difference between sati and ʼéidáx? Do you know that?
It's not becoming, it's
So
coming out of it.
ʼéidáx, the perfected form is ʼéidáx, which means to be born. ʼéidáx means to exist. But there's a similar thing that we all know, which is ʼkostit or ha'kosti. Those all come from the same. They all come from the same verb. Yati, siti, ʼéidáx, kostit, kote. Right? It's such a powerful, dynamic verb. But in this case, it means to exist. So Aak'wtaatseen ʼéidáx, the spirit exists. And then that you would probably be a Y, U, period, short, high-toned A. You that's a phrase that you don't hear a whole lot these days. Anybody know what that one means?
They say.
They say. Right. And it's used a lot in oratory. Haida has a very similar word that they just use all the time. And it's just saying, like, this is what they say, this is what they say.
So with verbs T, like the T root, the classifier and your thematic prefix make up what the T is going to do then?
Yes. And so one thing that we're going to see is when we look at this, we're gonna encounter a number of things, especially when we start really breaking down Tlingit grammar, that help us to sort of identify. We can say, okay, I know that's one of these possible things, right? And sometimes they're really closely related. So we know where the object pronoun goes. Within the object pronoun, you can get something that's called thematic, just like you can get athematic. And what that means, it means locking up that object pronoun spot with something else. Because you can have as an object pronoun, which means people. Eating people. Right? That's what that verb means. Play. But there's also which means weather, specifically weather. And then there's a third which just has to do with like space. I don't know how to really explain it because I don't fully understand it. But that's what this one I think is. It's to be in some certain space, to exist. Like you could say koyach when there's that raven story. Koyach. Koyach nadakin. Koyach nadakin. Fly correctly according to the space, which translates as fly horizontally, right? Because that's what he's supposed to do. He's flying straight up. And he said, koyach. Fly correct according to space. I don't know how else to describe it. But you don't know if it's going to be one of those three things, but it tends to sort of group with specific verbs. So, putziti, you know that one has to do with space. That's what it seems like to me. It could be argued that it has to do with people, but it can't, because you say, you could say car kutziti, a car exists. You could say all kinds of things. It just means to exist. It doesn't exist. Right? The other thing is this is another plus D verb. It's just always plus D, kutziti. This is how it's built.
The force then, basically, wait force.
Yeah. Wait force, kutziti.
The cool part, the thing that can't be explained, that makes it.
It's hard. It has to do with like a spatial sort of existence or a spatial reference usually. I'll try and dig up a couple other examples with the k verbs so you can see how they function. But kusachan, it means to love people, love of people, or just love altogether. But there are others that are there that just have to do with this sort of sense of space. All right, so we got through 2 sentences. That's excellent. That's just fine. Totem pole raising's going on Monday down at Kajahit. Who owns that place? Who runs that place? Housing authority? We gotta change the name. Kaja.
Who's that?
Down by Maybe /Lizard Bench.
It's down on Willoughby, right down, right? You know, celebration, it's right in between the two places. That's going on 11:30. Get your 20 place names to me by Friday. And let's try and get through in the Understanding Tlingit Verbs book. Try and make sure you get the newest version. Sorry, it's going through all these revisions. It's going to be done. I think by next year it's going to be like published, which is kind of cool. Read by Tuesday Up to the Raven and the Whales. Up to the Raven and the Whale. It's like page 149. Something like that.
In what?
Understanding Tlingit.
Oh, the story's in there.
Don't read. You read the story if you want to, but read at least up to the story, whatever the chapter is before that, using Tlingit resources or something like that. That's all I got. Goodness, sheesh, tekatuhan, ukecha. Yes, ha is possessing. So in that case, ha shingit sati. Shingit sati. It's possessing the being part, the verb, which is being transformed into a noun. Try to continue monitoring the chat portion. Sorry, I missed a couple of those questions. Yes, with the place names, you should also, when you send it to me, you should break it down as best you can. So then the biggest things I'm looking for is, can you identify all of the different relational, directional words, including what type of word it is. Good cheese. ʻéidáx.
That's